Welcome to Embrace the Spiritual Podcast. Join friends Michelle and Dawn as they share tips on how you too can open your heart, raise your vibration, and reclaim your sovereignty. Hear what they have experienced and overcome in their spiritual journeys while navigating this expansive spiritual multiverse. Discover how they transform their soul lessons from ordinary into extraordinary.
Follow, subscribe, and share Embrace the Spiritual Podcast on all streaming services, including YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Go to embracethespiritual.com for bonus content. To book a quantum energy healing session with Dawn, visit her website, alchemy-sacredsound.com. And to book a quantum energy healing session or learn Reiki or Tuning Forks, visit Michelle on her website at energeticembrace.com. Welcome back to our Embrace the Spiritual Season 5. What? I cannot believe that we have been doing this podcast for 18 months already. Last April 2023 we started, and it has been a journey. And yes, it's not like the old-fashioned TV shows where a season was a year, because we're not 5 years into this and we just go with the flow because, let's face it, that's what spirit does. We go with the flow, and that's the way it is. So this opening episode for season 5, we wanted to kind of revisit raising your vibration. That's really what our podcast is about, is helping people raise their vibration, giving you tips and tricks and information that can help with that. And we want to just kind of add to that, I guess, and beef up, I guess, so to speak, what we're talking about when raising vibration, because as this podcast continues, we grow, you grow, there's new information, and sometimes we just need reminders. One of those reminders is everything is energy. And I think sometimes we forget that. Energy vibrates at different frequencies. That's why you buy singing bowls that vibrate at different frequencies. Even the sounds in nature are different frequencies. Not everything is the same. Birds sound different than certain animals. We had an owl out back probably about 6:30 this morning, and 2 owls communicating with each other was kind of cool to listen to. And one of the things we'll be talking about this episode is all about your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, and how they influence your vibration. And we've talked about this in our manifestation episode, that our thoughts are very powerful. The universe and spirit does not know, oh, just kidding, when we say something. So sometimes we think we're saying something as a joke, but the universe sees those things as literal. So whether it's your thoughts, your emotions, and I don't know, this just seems too simple of an explanation, but a high vibration attracts positive experiences, people, opportunities, and a low vibration attracts negative ones. And this isn't a judgment about whether you're a high vibing or low vibration. We all kind of go through, some situations in our life that we might be operating at a different vibration, but it's more an awareness. So if things are coming into your life that are maybe not desirable, hey, maybe I've got some low vibration things that I'm thinking about, and maybe I just need to kind of make some tweaks. Dawn, what are some of those things? Like, we've been talking about so many things that are different vibration, and I think we got some good nuggets here.
I've got some really good stuff, because spirit always guides you to what you need in the moment in time and space. And I was just thinking about the multi levels of layers of low vibrations. And, we all know easy is like worry, anger, fear, jealousy, judgment. And then while you're talking, it came to me pain. Over the summer, I had an SRT with a beautiful woman, and she healed my grinding in my teeth. And my body has been going through so much changes because she did my teeth. She did my rib, which I have always felt. And I went to my Chinese healer last week, and I went to go twist, and I had, major sharp pain for when I twisted. So I twisted back, and I ended up messaging him, and I said, what is going on? Thinking I hurt myself, but it was like the next day. So I thought, this is strange. Usually towards the end of the 6 to 8 week period is when I start feeling pain. And he said, your body is going through so much changes right now because you're reworking your system. And the pain is because your tissues are not meeting your muscles. And that was just a way of your body saying, hey, we're not keeping up. All I had to do, I should say, is that my husband just had to take some oil and just lightly go across my back. And it was it had some herbs in it and stuff that were anti-inflammatory and took away pain. And let me tell you, I have felt so good. And he's like, he made a point of saying, don't rub. So there's times when our body just needs a little bit of even energy, a little tweak, and it can be minor, like saying gratitude. I came across a post saying that to rewire your brain to be happy by simply recalling 3 things you're grateful for every day for 21 days. How simple is that? We all can do it. You're happy for your family, and it can be repeated. It doesn't have to be the same thing, or if you're, grateful for something else that happened, but you're rewiring your brain to start thinking differently and to realizing that it is changing. So I'm grateful that I reached out to my Chinese healer and realized, yes, my body is going through these major energetic changes and these physical changes. And yes, there's going to be some bumps and some hiccups and some difficult times and some pain, but it's okay because it's rewiring itself. And to know that it's going to have a positive outcome. I had scoliosis since I was 12, and we healed it out of my spine. It was from a virus, but my muscles never healed because they had taken from 12 to about 40 to set in. And then I've only been working with my Chinese healer for 4 years because I realized that we got together during COVID, and he said, from your shoulders up, it's perfect. So as you are restructuring and rewiring your brain, and you're going to have these hiccups, just like your body has these hiccups. So know that we all go through bumps and tests of faith, but know that in the end, that it is going to come out all right. And I have faith that even though when it feels like somebody's stabbing in my back, that it's going to be all right, and that it's going to be because my body is becoming more resilient. And, we're also going through energy up leveling. I don't know how you all, our listeners, felt during this time that we were off, but I know that I went through some super energetic changes. Michelle went through some major energetic changes. And I had confirmation in my life that I went through energetic changes. Last year, I broke a mirror in my house, and I have been procrastinating getting that mirror fixed because I thought, it's such a small mirror and I would have to take it out, measure it. Last year, I remember washing it down because it had gotten, dusty and dirty. And this year I said, okay, I got to, buckle down and wash that mirror again because it's in the hallway, and we always come out with wet hair and it always seems to get water splatters. So I went to go clean that mirror and the crack was gone. And my daughter was in her bedroom and I said, do you remember this mirror having a crack in it? And she's like, yeah, Mom, that mirror has a crack in it. And I was like, that crack is gone. And she didn't believe me. So we can change timelines. We can go to a higher vibration and things will change. And you don't need a visual confirmation. But I got that visual confirmation of, yes, you are changing timelines, and it was awesome. So I hope that, you listen to our podcast and we are helping you raise your vibration because you don't have to be stuck and stagnant with what you thought was okay to live in.
And that's really what our whole journey in this lifetime is about, is showing us those things that our soul wanted to come in and work on. When our soul came into this life, it had the memory of what we signed up to learn. And then as soon as we're born and start the life, we slowly forget. And sometimes these things show us or show up in our lives so that we can work on them. One of the emotions that you had talked about being a low vibration, I wanted to kind of expand on a little bit because I think almost everybody has this to some degree. And it does take practice to recognize when these things are happening, but worry. So a lot of times, things like anger, yes, we know maybe there's a trigger. We'll talk about triggers in a few minutes, but worry, often we think of worry associated with love. So we don't necessarily think of this as something that would lower our vibration because I love you, so I worry about you. That's typically what we've associated. So we kind of think, oh, we're okay. Well, worry, especially when you worry about somebody else, it kind of robs their energy of the path that they're meant to be on. When we worry about things in our life, we've talked about this in manifestation. When we worry, the universe doesn't understand worry. It understands the words that we're putting to worry, right? If you worry about weight, you worry about finances, you worry about a job, or you worry about people that aren't being nice, like family members or friends. Ultimately, what happens when we worry is we're disconnecting from that present moment. We're either worried about something that's happened in the past, or we're worrying about something in the future. And we're missing the present. And when we're present and aware, then we see the beauty and wonder in front of us. And that ultimately leads to gratitude, as Dawn was talking about. When we can be in the present moment, then we can be grateful for what is around us. And sometimes that chronic worry can also basically erode our purpose and meaning, because it can create anxiety, right? When we worry about things, it can create anxiety. We struggle to find, what's important in our lives. So then we kind of feel empty and disconnected. Like, this is a huge one that I think sometimes gets overlooked because that association of, I love you, so I worry about you. We worry about our kids. We worry about our aging family members, but it can also impact our spiritual practices. So when we're worried, it is very difficult to quiet our minds and connect with our higher self, connect with our guides, the angels, archangels, our divine teams, because that worry is occupying our mind. And I want to make sure that, you have to be still. Is it worry? Or are you seeing maybe a potential timeline? Because I know I've had that happen where I might say, well, I may not use the word worry, it doesn't matter, but I think something might happen. I even have to take a step back to say, am I just worrying about that? Or am I seeing a potential thing that can happen? And it can be small things, right? Like, my husband was cleaning out the garage and we've got this rack to put tires on. So when we change out summer to winter tires, and yes, some of you may not have to worry about that, but we do. And we were talking about putting it on one of the walls versus a different wall. And it came to me that if we put it on this one wall, that it has the potential collapsing onto the vehicles and damaging them quite significantly. So I even had to take a step back and, am I just worried about this? Like, hey, I'm a powerful manifester. Am I going to create something that I don't want? Or am I seeing something as a potential? If you're in that situation, if you like pendulums, you can dowse to see, like, is this really something that's going to happen? You can use your body. We've talked about using your body as a way to dowse. If it leans forward, it's a yes. If it falls back, it's a no. So there's different ways that you can do that. If you get still, you can ask your team, is this something that, is a real concern or not? So it's just an example of something so everyday, that little piece. And these things happen in a moment of time. And I think that's what happens to people, is it's all these little moments in time that kind of layer on top of each other. And then all of a sudden, our lives aren't going the way we want them to, but it's been a little adding up over time. So as Dawn said, if you can get into the practice of gratitude, 3 gratitude statements every day for 21 days, you hear lots about 21 days creating a habit. Hey, start with the first 5 days and then 10 days. If it's overwhelming to you that, oh my gosh, 21 days, like, I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow, then just do today, and then just do tomorrow, and then just do the next day. That's all it is, one day at a time. And if you miss a day, don't beat yourself up. Just resume. If you think, oh crap, I didn't do it yesterday, make sure you do it that morning when you think of it. I just wanted to highlight worry. I think it's one of those ones that's kind of subtle, but quite impactful when we think of what it can do to lower our vibration in the moment, and especially over time.
And worry is such a program that if you have parents who programmed it into you, it is very hard to break. And I came from a mother who worried about everything. Oh my God, she's going to get pregnant because now she's at the age where she can, have children. And it's like all these things that my mother would worry about. And I was like the perfect child, like growing up. Even as a teenager, I was extremely responsible. And it was my brothers who like put her through hell. So, it's almost like she created this timeline because all my energy was focused on this child, but then it was acted out between my brothers and my youngest was, the stuff that he did was just like, yeah, like all the energy that you spent concerned about me could have been just enjoying the moment and enjoying our time together instead of, possible scenarios. And so it is like, I do feel like I was breaking when I decided, I'm not going to use the worry anymore. When I talk about things, I'm concerned. And I started doing that to my husband. I'm like, it's not worry, you're concerned. My youngest recently got a stick shift car, and it is a fast car because it is a sports car. I didn't realize that. And she is now learning how to drive it, and she's great when she gets going. But unfortunately, when it comes to stopping and starting, she has issues. And we are concerned because not everybody is aware of, we live in a small village and there are a lot of new drivers. And I'm always super careful and I err on the side of caution. And she's got this little sports car that she really wanted because it's cute. And she is going into be an automotive tech. So she went back to school. So she was like, this is perfect. She's taking it to school. And, we do have our concerns because unfortunately, my husband has followed her back from school when she took it there. And people are not patient. People will yell things out the window. And how are you supposed to learn if you don't go on the road and practice? It doesn't happen. You can't find the perfect ideal situation. If you go to a parking lot, there's going to be people there. If you go to a park, there's going to be people there. People need to step back and realize, I used to be there one time, and forgive, because you can see that she's not a full adult. She still looks about 15 when she is wearing her baseball cap and driving. And I could have fallen into the creating the timelines of worrying that something's going to happen. I decided, you know what? I'm not going to. She's a good driver. She set up all these rules for herself that when she's driving, that she's not going to do. She's always going to make sure she leaves, enough space. She's not going to fiddle with the radio, which she was explaining to me. I thought this is a well thought out plan for driving for a 19-year-old. Probably better than I've ever thought about things that age. And I just let it go. I said, I am going to trust her that she's going to do the right thing and the angels are going to step in and protect her at all times. And it was such a relief to me. And just making sure my husband, when he says I worry about her, changing that, I'm concerned. And it is a concern because you can only control your actions. You can't control her actions. You can't control other people's. And once you start letting that go, you feel so much calmer in your heart. And then you can put energy into other things like, doing things around the house, because it is awfully energetically draining when you're worrying about somebody. I think about the missing energy that I had because I was worrying, I didn't do as much as I should with my household chores or laundry. I've been doing 7 loads of laundry on Mondays because of the need. I got help yesterday since I had to work the weekend and my daughter did all the laundry. So I'm like, yay, I just have to do bedding. That, make easier on me. But once you start shifting, things start falling into place. And I didn't even ask her to help me out. She just did because she took my car and my husband drove me to work. So things change when things start energetically shifting for you. But you have to consciously start making those changes on a small level. And as you make them, it starts shifting your whole entire system and how things go. And just know that it might not seem like at one moment in time and space, but remember, everything we are learning here is a lesson. So maybe it's just testing. Has she learned that lesson about not worrying? That is a lesson in itself. Yeah, and they're going to test you. Has she really learned how to not worry and, be concerned? And at times we're kick ourselves oh, yeah, I kind of missed out on that lesson, but I will try harder the next time. So we're all going through all these changes. And one day you're going to be look back and be I remember when I used to do this, and you will know in your heart, I'm not doing it anymore. So I just had to share that. And the other thing that I was thinking about, another thing that worrying creates is insomnia, because you have that hamster wheel going. and you can't calm your brain down. So once you start doing those gratitude, and if you can't sleep, start doing gratitude during the night. It does help because then you're occupying yourself with happy moments. Or just think about like, what in that part of your day, that's what I'll do. Like if I have a good day with a client, I'll be like, oh, I really enjoyed, and I'll do it in the moment that, my client did this, because I know we all have difficult days. Or if you have a boss who's really energetically hard to get along with, if they do something that you're like, ooh, there was no conflict, be like, wow, I'm really grateful for that. Because then it'll say, hey, this was a positive interaction and we can make more of those in the future.
Yeah, that's a great example of, to me, the opposite of worry is trust, right? So trust that you'll be okay. Trust that you are a good driver. Trust, because I think that's what we don't. And that trust for ourselves is self-love, right? We trust that we're in the right place, and maybe the timing hasn't quite worked out, but trust that you are going along the path. And if you have deja vu, like I do all the time, to me, that's confirmation I'm on the path I'm meant to be on. I was thinking back to when you were describing those people that were getting so impatient with her driving. All I could think of is, man, those people have some triggers that they have not worked on. And triggers are a big thing when you are going through your spiritual growth, your emotional growth, everything. Triggers are just pointing out to you things that still need to heal. Sometimes we do so much work on ourselves and a trigger pops up. Thank the trigger for popping up. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but thank you for showing me something that hasn't yet been healed. So ask those questions of yourself. So here's an example. Friends are having a conversation and one person gets triggered, and take that step back and say, okay, why did that person trigger me? Because it's usually not the person. It's the trigger, it's the situation, something that's come up, and maybe anger came up. Well, why did that situation trigger anger? Well, maybe, these two friends on the phone, you didn't feel heard. Well, so keep asking the questions. We've talked about this previously. Keep asking the questions, get down to the layers. It's not the person. It's not even the situation ultimately. The situation just represents something. And if you can really be honest, then you can get to those root causes faster. So maybe you didn't feel heard. Well, why is feeling heard still something that is bothering you if you don't feel heard? Well, maybe you never felt heard as a child. You didn't feel like your parents listened to you. Okay, light bulb, now you're getting somewhere. So understanding that the trigger isn't, even these people honking and, getting frustrated with your daughter, it's not about your daughter. It's about them. And they're probably, like, you never know what story led up to that situation. They could have left late because they had a fight with their spouse, or, the power went out and they're late. And so they're frustrated. And it just so happens she happened to be the person in front of them that was going slower and made them even more late. Well, really, you're not going to be late because of that. Triggers are there to help you grow. We came into this lifetime to expand and grow, not to become less and smaller. And, don't just be that shell of a person. Look at what's happening. Just because you're watching a romantic movie and all this love stuff and you don't have a partner, instead of being angry about not having a partner or not having maybe the same romantic love that you see, stop looking outside of yourself, look inwards. Maybe it's not the right time for you to have a partner. Maybe that's not the right thing that you need. There are so many reasons. I can't sit here and give you all the answers for what each trigger is, but sit with it. I think that's the big thing, is just like worry, sit with the emotion, deep breathe. We've talked about this. When you can deep breathe, it kind of helps disrupt the nervous system from whatever state you're in. If you're in a state of anger or anxiety or whatever, start taking those deep breaths, get your nervous system kind of regulated, and sit with your triggers. If it helps you to journal and just automatic write whatever comes to you, just write about, why was I triggered? And it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be legible. It just has to get the thought out of your brain to say, what could be more of this. It's usually not about the person. A lot of times we sign up in this life to have people trigger us. I mean, we all have different contracts and things that we signed up to do in this life. Sometimes you might have to look at a person and go, oh, well, thanks for triggering me. I needed to learn that lesson still, apparently. And triggers they kind of roam the darkness of the shadows, if you will, because we all need to work on our shadow self. People that say they're just here for love and light, great if they've worked on their shadow self. I suspect there's still stuff that needs to be worked on. And a way to deal with your triggers is not avoiding them. That's not healing. That's just avoiding. And sometimes we think, well, if I don't put myself in that situation of what's triggered anything, whatever is going on in your life, when you can be triggered, face it head on, work through the pain. What is the pattern showing me? Because most times those triggers are part of a pattern. So if we aren't learning a lesson, things will keep showing up to us in a pattern. And we also attach a story to those triggers, don't we? So that trigger is connected to this story that we tell over and over again. And the power of our words, we've talked about in conscious languaging. If we continue to tell the story, we are actually cementing in this story into our energy body, into our auric field, into our body, as Dawn said, with pain that shows up. And decide in that moment that you're going to walk a different path and you're going to figure out what these triggers are and how to heal them. And if you need external help, like SRT, Dawn was mentioning, has been a huge one for both of us. It has gotten to the root of things that are triggering us. And sometimes we don't know why. Sometimes the triggers are connected to past lives as well. So sometimes you actually might need some assistance to identify those things that, I don't know why this is still happening. Like you truly think you have worked on everything. So triggers are a really big thing. Face them, send the trigger love. It's there to help you. So allow it to help you.
And as we're talking about triggers, I was just kept going over in my head. Some of us are here to witness triggers. So my youngest went back to school and she is now in a classroom with 15 to 20 people. And, her vibration is much higher than a lot of people than she comes into play with. And, she does get angry, but when she gets angry, it's like, I'm angry, I feel it, I let it go. And she's now in a tight classroom setting where they're working on projects and these people cannot let their anger go. And it's frustrating for her because she, doesn't know what to do. Sometimes we just have to witness it. And I said, you know what? You're not going to fix her. You have to have the sympathy towards her and realize that she can have a better life. She needs to do the journey and heal herself because that's what we're here for. We are here to help heal ourselves. You can give somebody all the tools in the world, but if they don't want to do the work themselves, they're not going to heal. And she was, asked to hang out and she's like, I actually don't want to because I don't like how angry she gets and you never know what's going to set her off. And I said, looking into it energetically, I could feel her energy and what she was giving off. And I'm like, you know what? I don't think it's going to be any benefit to you. If you don't want to go, say something. And she did have chores. So she's like, I'll do those instead of coming home and doing them. I said, perfect. It all works out. So know that as you're going through this change, you are going to notice that there are people who get triggered around you. And it's send them love, send them, I always try to talk to their, my clients' higher selves because they're not in their right mind, but I know their higher self is. And there's sometimes that there's nothing that I can do except hold space for them in that moment in time of space. Especially, I have a client who has Alzheimer's and she was getting really confused yesterday. There was no reason for her to, but the sun is setting earlier and that for her is a trigger. So, I just like to try to laugh it off because she does have a tendency to become negative. I just goof around and it's kind of funny because she has, in her way, kind of started getting a little bit goofier and it's nice that she can laugh more. And that's, a lot of people honestly don't laugh enough. I find they're kind of grumpy and gruff and they don't even it's like trying to get a smile out of them is like, what the heck? Life is meant to be fun and lighthearted. And yes, we have serious things going on in the world, but it's not my job to try to fix them all, as it's not your job, because your job is to work on yourself and raise your vibration, make yourself aware of the changes that are going on around you. And if you start changing yourself and people start seeing that you are changing, it's going to affect them too. They might be slow rolling out their changes as well, but there's so many beautiful tools out there like SRT. My husband went and had a session and he cleared some stuff so quickly, and the changes in him, like he's more loving, he's more talkative, off his phone a lot, which is a nice change. I live in a small village, so I see these people who are walking down the street addicted to their phone, and we have uneven sidewalks, so I don't know how they don't have accidents at my neighbor's house, because they had some pipe work done for either the water or the gas, and there is like a dip, and I always make sure I'm looking at the sidewalk when I walk. And around me we do have skunks and raccoons that say, hey, how's it going, especially when you're at sundown, and you're missing out on life. Honestly, is that little screen really giving you that much information that is affecting you? No. Put the phone down, start going inward, having conversations with yourself, talk to your higher self, especially like if your team is not serving you in this moment in time and space, they might not be that talkative. But as you raise your vibration, you can ask your team who is not serving you in this moment in time and place, could you leave? We are allowed to do that and ask if you need a new team to come in. We're all growing together, and some of us are doing it quicker than others. And so you're going to need an upgrade to your team. Some will stay, some will go, and that's okay. We're all meant to interact energetically with each other. And I just look back, and think about how many friends that I've had over the years. Lot. Do I want to be friends with the people that I was friends with in high school? Absolutely not. Do I want to be friends with the people I am friends with now? Yes, in this moment in time and place. But if we grow apart, I will know that they are doing the best that they can. And it's okay, because we're all on different journeys.
Exactly. And you've probably heard that, what might feel like a cliche saying, but sometimes, whether it's a marriage, a friendship, family, the people are meant to be in your life at that time, and they're kind of meeting you where you're at, maybe energetically, wherever your vibration is at that time, to help you grow. And even in a relationship, as Dawn said, both of us have had some pretty serious work, and that's why we like to take a couple months off, because you have to integrate all these changes that are happening. So that's a big thing. Be gentle with yourself. If you feel like you need rest or relaxation, don't allow it to get maybe too far. I know I've gotten on that slippery slope, but it's really about connecting back to yourself. And you might have an ex that maybe you split up and they've moved on really quickly, and maybe it triggers you or something. Well, maybe it's just to show you that, wow, validation of someone that you were not meant to be with. And that's okay, because once we can move through these things and truly heal them and raise our vibration from it, the next time a situation that may have triggered you really deeply before isn't going to have as much sting, if you will, the next time it happens. You can handle them more with ease and grace, because you start to see it from an observer role of, okay, what lesson was I learning in that situation? I know I've been in situations where, by all intents and purposes, it could have ended a friendship, a relationship, whatever. But I look at it and go, oh, wow, that was what I had to learn. And it had to happen that way. And it had to happen in that timing, because, this tool came along to help me right at that right time. So when you can see it differently, I think sometimes we're too quick to maybe cut people off, and they're doing the best they can maybe in the moment of what their triggers are, their background, their traumas. But you know what? If you're willing to work on things and raise your vibration, heal yourself, and remove that kind of fearful programming and those barriers that you see, life gets easier in the respect of it being easier to manage those emotions. I know I remember seeing a post one time about something called glimmers. So this is coming out a little bit more. So similar to kind of the gratitude piece is they're calling them glimmers. And it's essentially opposite of a trigger. And glimmers are those moments in your day to day that make you feel joy, happiness, peace, or gratitude. And like Dawn said, we can actually change our brain and the neurons to look for those glimmers. So if you are typically looking for what's going to go wrong, you're going to find what's going to go wrong. If you can switch it, even if it's only one a day, like maybe you have to work up to this, that's okay. But if you start to see, oh yeah, I actually did have joy in that, and just acknowledge it. By just acknowledging it, you'll see it again over and over again. So I really like that. Glimmers, affirmations, gratitude, they're all about seeing what is positive in our world, because there is always something positive. I think the big thing in that is look for those things within you as well. So a lot of times we're looking externally for that validation, and that's great. Sometimes we, hey, I'm feeling this. I know I'll do that with Dawn. Like, are you picking that up too? And sometimes it's nice to have that. But ultimately, look for those things in yourself. Look for the things that, hey, I did a really great job. You're not being arrogant by celebrating the fact that, hey, I've been really procrastinating, and this is something on my list that I've just been putting off for far too long, and I finally tackled it. Celebrate it. It's not just, okay, I get to cross that thing off my list. No, you broke through procrastination. And even if you only did 2 hours of work on it or an hour of work on it, still celebrate that. They're little wins, and the little wins start to become bigger wins.
Beautiful. I love it. And so true. We've given you a lot of stuff. I just want to say these are action things that you can do. So smile at yourself, laugh at yourself. I talk to myself because I'm alone a lot, or I talk to the animals. And like when I do something silly or something, that I would usually be like, oh, that really sucked. Laugh, because you're then taking something negative that happened and making it positive. Or like I'll do this all the time. Like I only go to my Chinese healer once every 6 to 8 weeks. And I decided to not listen to my ways because it always gets me stuck in traffic for like half an hour. And I'm just like, no, not anymore. I'm going to not listen to you and go this other way. But I know sometimes they change up. They're like working on construction stuff, and sometimes they'll change up the route. And I just don't know the area that I'm in good enough to find, where I'm going. So I have the ways going. And like, if I realize like, oops, I'm in the wrong lane, I'll just laugh at myself. Or like this one time we were coming back and there was construction, and I didn't realize until I was like on top of it, I had run over a sign. And instead of being upset because my daughter and I had just come back, and she's like, Mom, I think there's something wrong with the car. The tire is low. And my team was like, yep, you got a nail. It's right here. And my neighbor had been talking to her, and he came out. He's like, how did you know where the nail was? It was because my team was like, yep, it's right here. So we had a really, and because she had been doing tires with my husband, she got that changed really quick. We went to the automotive store. It only cost me like $35. Like I think we were done within an hour and a half. So be grateful, like that your team is working with you. I don't think we give them enough appreciation at times. I know I'm guilty where it's just like, oh yeah. And it's like, oops, I didn't thank you. My apologies. Because we just get used to like that fast food, that fast energy, like do. And then you're like, oops, I forgot to thank you. So thank your team when they help you, even if it's just a little bit, and it will make them want to work with you more. Sleep, that helps you recharge. Exercise, meditation, yoga, visualization. And this is for those of us, whether you're trying to create a future that you want to come in. And just as I look over, there's a mourning dove on our banister. Or if you're trying to heal something that is part of you, chanting, or I've been using the tuning forks. And our next episode, we're going to be talking about frequencies. And I'm sure we're going to be talking about tuning forks, singing bowls, and other things that you can use, affirmations. There's so much you can do. Remember to breathe. A lot of us hold our breath. I didn't realize I was holding my breath like 2 appointments ago when my Chinese healer pointed it out. I'm like, well, that's because the pain is like through the roof. And the last time I was like, okay, just breathe through it, breathe through it, breathe through it. Yes, it was still painful, but it felt like it went a lot faster. Pamper yourself. Take a bath. I made bath scrub that my husband and I have been using because it's the end of summer. He's been doing like concrete work, so his skin's been dry, my skin's been dry. There's just so much that you can do for yourself, little things. And we're getting into the fall and I'm almost out of my lotions. I'm going to be making lotions and lip balms, and they're so simple and you can tailor them to your needs and wants. The sky's the limit. Enjoy what you can bring into your life.
I just want to add a couple things to that, those practical ways. I love the self-care. And this is something so easy you can do. You're having daily showers. Cleanse your aura while you're in the shower. Hey, we all multitask. Why not multitask with something like that? So when you're in the shower, I like to imagine it as the golden rain shower. Even if you can physically stretch your arms up high and just imagine all that negative energy and thoughts leaving down your body through your toes and down the drain, and watch it, like visualize it flushing out that illness or pain, bad thoughts. We'll talk a little bit about chakra balancing next episode as part of sound healing, but even those healing foods and plant medicine and spiritual practices. If you haven't already gone to maybe a sound bath, those are great things. It's just you time. You just get to relax and allow that vibration to just wash over you. And conscious communication. When we can practice active listening, empathy for others, compassion in your interaction with others, this helps raise your vibration and attract those like-minded individuals. So be mindful, be present, and cultivate that awareness of your thoughts, emotions, and surroundings. Follow, subscribe, and share Embrace the Spiritual podcast on all streaming services, including YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Go to embracethespiritual.com for bonus content. To book a quantum energy healing session with Dawn, visit her website, alchemy-sacredsound.com. And to book a quantum energy healing session or learn Reiki or Tuning Forks, visit Michelle on her website at energeticembrace.com.
Infinite love and gratitude. Thank you for joining us.